Hi, welcome to On Location with Mr. Gupton. However, this time my location takes me to the classroom where I'm going to show you different ways to multiply. The problem we are working with is 24 times 32. Now, the first way I'm going to show you how to do this is called the standard algorithm. This is the way that most moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas, aunts and uncles, older brothers and older sisters might be teaching you, and you might get a little frustrated because you're like, I don't understand this. Well, we're going to go step by step. Now, the other two ways that we're going to show you how to multiply are different ways that you can break apart the numbers, and that way you can show those people how your mind might be working as you multiply these larger numbers. So not only does this video help you understand your mom and dad's logic and way of thinking, but it also helps them understand how you're thinking it, how you're breaking apart those numbers. So here we go. Let's start with the standard algorithm. This is the way my generation and other generations have learned it in school. It's going to start off like this. We're going to work on the ones place. So we're going to work with the number 2, and we're going to multiply it with everything on top. So here we go. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. So there we have it. So we just got done multiplying that 2 that was in the ones place with everything on top. Now, the next part of this is when we start working on the tens place. Now, since I don't have any ones, I'm going to put an X with a circle around it. Some people might just put a circle. It just shows that we are now working on the tens place. So 3 times 4 is 12. I'm going to put down the 2, I'm going to carry the 1. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And I'm going to add up those numbers. Now, this might look a little confusing if you are just starting with multiplication, if this is something that you might have difficulty with, and then your family starts drawing all of these circles and all of these ovals, and you might get really overwhelmed by the way it looks. So that's okay if you're feeling that kind of anxiety when it comes to multiplying double-digit numbers. When I add up all of this, I get 768. Now, that is typically the way that my generation and other generations learned it in school. So if your dad or mom, if they're trying to help you solve this problem, this is probably the most likely way they're trying to do this problem. Now, let's show them a different way how to multiply. This might be the way that your brain is working. We're going to break it apart into 2 sections here. So I'm going to take the same problem that we were working with, and this time I'm going to break it apart piece by piece. I'm going to go with 24. I'm going to put 24 on both sides. Now I'm going to take 32, and I want to separate the tens from the ones. So to separate 32, I'm going to get 30 plus 2. Now watch what happens when we multiply this. So 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. Whenever you're multiplying a number that has a 0 in it, if the 0 is in the last place, I can just take that 0 automatically down. And now I go 4 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Carry the 1. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Look what happened here. When you decided to break apart the number and have 2 multiplication problems, you actually got the same numbers as your family did. So I've got 720 over here. you came up with 720. Over here is 48 and 48. The last thing I would need to do is this. Now, there is no difference with the two problems. This standard algorithm and the way that you might have done it is the same. We're just taking it an extra step. So if this is what you're trying to show your family, that's perfectly okay, because look, we're still getting the same numbers. Now, one of the last ways that we can multiply when we have double-digit numbers is something like this. We're going to take a square, and we're going to cut it into 4 boxes. Now, this time, I'm going to break apart both numbers. I'm going to take 24, and I'm going to separate the 10s from the 1s. And when I do that, I've got 20 plus 4. And when I take the next one, I've got 30 plus 2. Now, this is just a little bit longer. However, we're still going to get the same answers. So here we go. 30 times 20 is 600. 30 times 4 is 120. 20 times 2 is 40. What I'm doing is I'm taking the numbers on the outside and I'm multiplying them together to get the number on the inside. Last but not least, 4 times 2 is 8. So now I'm going to take all of these values, all of these totals, I'm going to add them up, and I'm going to get the same answer as what my family did. So if they're showing you this way, this standard algorithm, that's okay, that's perfectly okay. That's the way that they probably learned it. It's probably the way that they do it on an everyday basis. If this is the way that you're showing your family, where you're breaking apart the second number into 10s and 1s, that's okay, because look, we're getting the same answer. And if you're actually taking both numbers and breaking them apart, look really quick right here. If I go here, 600 plus 120, I actually get 720. And if I go here, 40 plus 8, I actually get 48. Look what happened as I went through all of these problems. We were getting the same answers. We were just doing it a little bit differently, and that's the best part about math. If you do math correctly, you're going to get the same answer as somebody else. Keep in mind, you might have thought about solving it a totally different way than they did. But if you look, we got 768, 768, and 768. Now, I will say that the standard algorithm works all of the time. You just have to keep track of the way those numbers go. Some students get a little bit confused when they're taking a number like this, when it has triple digits, or even this little square box method, when it has triple digits. It might be a little bit confusing. So, in the next video, I'm going to show you what happens when we have triple digits multiplied by a double digit number, or even a triple digit times a triple digit. So, good luck with all of that, and remember, whichever way you're solving math is perfectly okay, just as long as you're getting the same answer. So, good luck with all of your multiplication. Hi, welcome back everyone. Now in this part of the video, I'm going to show you how it might get a little bit complicated if you're trying to solve multiplication a different way than the standard algorithm, but we're going to walk through it step by step and hopefully it makes sense. So the first thing, I've got 123 times 23. Now, I'm going to do this the standard algorithm way, the way that your moms, dads, aunts, uncles, grandma, grandpas, whoever is trying to help you with your math work. This is the way that most people do it. Why? Because it's the way we learned it. And it just, sometimes when you get comfortable solving math, you always go with what you feel comfort with. So here we go. We're going to work on the ones place. So we're going to go 3 times 3 is 9. We're going to do 3 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6. And then the last part, 3 times 1 is 3. Now I took 3 and I multiplied it with all of my numbers up top. Now what I have to do is work on the tens place. So once again, I'm going to put a little X with the circle. Why? Because I'm multiplying all of the tens values. So now I'm going to go 2 times 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Now when I add up all of this, 6 plus 6 is 12. I need to carry the 1. I've got 1. I've got 12, so I've got to break apart the tens from the ones. So 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 1 is 8. And then I'm going to get a grand total of 2,829. Now, look how many different circles, ovals that we drew around all of this. Whenever you start working with bigger numbers, my advice is erase the circles once you've used them. Erase the ovals. So as soon as I was done multiplying my ones, I might just erase those. That way when I'm watching what I'm doing with my tens values, it doesn't look so confusing. Now, what you can do is show your family a different way to do this. So just like in the last part of the video, I'm going to take 123, I'm going to take 123 times 23, and I'm going to break it apart into 2 problems. So I've got this, 123 times 20, and 123 times 3. Basically, we're doing the same thing over here, but we're just separating it so it doesn't look so confusing with all of these ovals. So here we go. Anytime you multiply a number that has a 0 in the ones place, I can just bring that 0 down. So now I go 2 times 3, 6. 2 times 2, 4. 1 times 2, 2. Now I come over here and I work on the ones. 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. And now what I need to do is add up these 2 values. But if you look, 2,460 is right over there. And if I look, 369 is actually over here. So what I'm doing is just separating this so it doesn't look so messy. If that helps you, do it. If your family is trying to show you this way and you're getting a little overwhelmed because of all of the ovals and the pictures that they keep drawing, try it this way. Just break it apart. Do your 2 individual math problems, multiplication problems, and hopefully that helps you keep everything organized. Now, the last way that you could do this is when I draw a square, but this time it's not going to be a square. It's going to be a rectangle. And the reason behind this, I'm going to end up with 6 boxes because I've got 3 values on top and 2 values on the bottom. I've got 3 digits up here and 2 digits down there. So 3 times 2 is 6. So I end up with 6 boxes. If I go back to the last part of the video, if I look over here, I've got 2 digits here, 2 digits there. 2 times 2 is 4. That's why I made 4 squares. So moving on with this. This is where it gets a little bit complicated. So this way might not be the best way, but it is a different way to help you multiply. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my first value. I'm going to break all of it apart. So I'm going to go 100 plus 20 plus 3. I'm going to take my second value, 20 plus 3. What I'm doing this time is I am separating the hundreds from the tens from the ones. I'm separating the tens from the ones. This method might be a little bit longer, especially if you have bigger numbers. So let's just pretend I have 3 digits on the top, 3 digits on the bottom. I've got 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. I would have 9 boxes here. So the bigger the numbers when you multiply, the bigger this box is going to get. So this might not be the fastest way, but if this helps you break apart the numbers, then please go for it. Try your best with it. Now I'm going to switch colors just so it's not so confusing. I'm going to go 100 times 20. 100 times 20 is 2,000. 100 times 3 is 300. 20 times 20 is 400. 20 times 3 is 60. 20 times 3 again is 60. And then 3 times 3 is 9. Now, like I said, this way might be a little bit longer because watch what happens when I add up all of these numbers. I've got 2,000 plus 400 plus 300 plus 60 plus 60. The mistake that probably would be made is I had to write 60 twice because up here I've got 60 twice. So if you make a mistake, it's probably because you only wrote down 60 once. And then the last part, I'm going to add up 9. Now, if you're comfortable adding a lot of numbers like this, then please go for it. But keep in mind, like I said, that there might be a little mistake because you only wrote 60 once, when in fact it appeared twice in our rectangular grid. So if I start adding up all of these numbers, 6 plus 6 is 12. I'm going to put down the 2. I'm going to carry the 1. 4 plus 3 is 8, plus 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7, plus 1 is 8. Sorry about that. I was going a little bit too fast. And then I put down the 2. Now if I look, I get the same answer every single time. Let's just add up these numbers really quick. If I look, I get the same numbers every single time. The mistake here could also be when you add 6 plus 6. You get 12. You put down the 2. You've got to carry this 1. So when you have more numbers and you're trying to add them or you're trying to multiply them, the chances of making a mistake are greater if you're not really comfortable with larger numbers, adding multiple numbers together. So just please be careful if you are breaking apart these numbers. There are sometimes where mistakes can be made. Now watch carefully. When I added up all of these numbers here, if I look off to the side, right here, if I add that up, I get 2,400. If you look over here, 2,460, 2,460, and then if I add up these last 3 pieces, I get 369. And if I look, I've got 369. So there are different ways to multiply. I will say this, if your family is trying to show you the standard algorithm and it's not making sense to you, break apart the tens from the ones, break apart the tens from the ones, or if you need to, break apart the entire number, but keep in mind, your boxes are going to get greater. The numbers you're going to have to add up a lot more of them if you're doing this step, and especially if your teacher asks you to solve a problem like this, chances are I probably would not be making a rectangular box that has 3 and 3, 9 squares, where I'm trying to multiply everything together. With a situation like this, I might do the standard algorithm, or I might just break it apart into 3 different problems. And if you remember from the other parts of the video, we were still getting the same answers. Your family might be doing the standard algorithm, but if you remember, we were still getting the same answers. We are just doing a different way. We were just trying to separate those numbers so it makes sense on our paper. We were still doing it the same way, just a different version. So hopefully that helps you as you start multiplying all of these bigger numbers. So good luck.